Welcome to the first video in the series Fabric of a Revolution, recreating a 13-star American flag. My name is Holly. I'm a fiber artist, and I'll be your host for this series. During the first half of 2026, I will be undertaking a project to recreate a 13-star American flag using techniques available at the time of the American Revolution, while also investigating the history of the people who would be involved in these processes. I'd like to start this series by introducing you all to the project and why I felt it was worth undertaking. I wanted to do something meaningful to celebrate the 250th anniversary of our country. I've always loved the American flag, its rich colors of red and blue interspersed with bold white stripes and stars. For me, it represents the best of what our country strives for: freedom, equity, self-determination, and inclusion. And it reminds me to work towards these values every day. But why, might you be thinking, would I spend months making an American flag? Making things with my hands is so much more than the final product. All the hours that go into a project is time to reflect on the process and connect to countless others who have done similar work throughout history. And when it comes to history, especially American history, I love this quote by the historian and professor Laura Thatcher Ulrich. Beneath the thunder of the political boycotts lay the subdued hum of unseen labor. And it occurred to me, that is what I want this project to be about. I want to learn more about the people who would have been involved in that unseen labor, focusing specifically on all the labor necessary for a flag to be made around the time of the American Revolution. And I hope when this is done, I will look at our flag and see not only my hopes for the future of our country, but also the diversity of people upon whom this country is built. All the farmers and spinners, weavers, dyers, and those that took up their needles to make our nation succeed. People whose names will not be found in history books, but have nonetheless made our country what it is today. And I want to invite you to go on this journey with me. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to the special flag that will be the cornerstone of this project. This flag is an American flag that survives from the early days of our democracy and is owned by Mr. Jim Mooney of Ohio. It's currently on loan at the Commonwealth Museum, where it hangs in the main entry hall. It was found by Mr. Mooney's great-grandfather in 1902 in an old house in Medford, Massachusetts. Oral history records it to have been flown at a fort on Castle Island in Boston Harbor around 1783. Detailed analysis done by textile historian Dr. Rabbit Goody has confirmed that it is made of materials and construction consistent with being made in the Revolutionary War era, 1778 to 1791. Mr. Mooney was kind enough to share with me the analysis report, which is going to be invaluable to the reproduction of this flag, as it details the materials and the construction. But before we talk about the construction of this flag and my plan for reconstructing it, let's get a little historical context for the use of flags during the American Revolution. Flags have served as a way to transmit information for a very long time. Any good vexillologist will probably want me to tell you that there are different terms for military flags, some of which you will see used in older documents. Colors is a historical term for military flags and banners of various sizes and purposes, like identifying or marking different sections of a regiment on a battlefield. A standard is a smaller flag, often carried on a long pole by someone on horseback. Ships and forts throughout history and into the present fly flags as a means of identification, showing to which country they owe their loyalty. At the time of the American Revolution, militias carried colors and standards, communicating identity and location across the battlefield. A book published in 1770 called Military Instructions for Officers Detached in the Field states that The voices of the officers, the waving of the colors and standards, the sound of trumpets, and the noise of drums are so many echoes which explain and extend the orders of authority to which every inferior owes a ready, respectful, and implicit submission. A little note about printed material from the 18th century. They would use a character called the long S for some lowercase s's. If you're interested, there is some nice information about it from the National Archives. I'll put the link below in the show notes. A few of the banners used in the Revolutionary War have been preserved, like this one, which can be viewed at the Bedford Free Public Library in Bedford, Massachusetts, which is thought to have been carried to Concord Bridge on April 19, 1775, at the beginning of the American Revolution. This Liberty flag, which was thought to be carried by New York Continental Army or militia in 1775 or 1776. And finally, the standard, which is believed to have been used by George Washington to mark the location of his headquarters and his location on the battlefield. And these flags were important. George Washington's General Orders for March 14, 1783 states, "The regiments that are not furnished with regimental colors will immediately make application for them to Mr. Forthingham, Commissary of Military Stores." In addition to their use on the battlefield, flags were also used to represent and mobilize resistance against British rule. This newspaper article from the Boston Evening Post, 24th of October, 1774, reported, "We have just received the following intelligence from Taunton, that on Friday last a liberty pole of 112 feet long was raised there, on which is a vane and a Union flag flying, with the words Liberty and Union thereon." You might notice so far, none of the flags I've mentioned are the style of the stars and stripes we think of today as our American flag. We didn't have an official description of the American flag until the flag resolution passed by Congress on June 14, 1777, which states, "Resolved, that the flag of the 13 United States be 13 stripes alternating red and white, and that the Union be 13 stars, white in a blue field, representing a new constellation." Even with this description of the flag recorded by Congress in 1777, the exact arrangement of the stars was not stated, and you may see examples of 13-star flags that differ in their star pattern. On this flag from 1790, the stars are arranged in a larger star configuration. The design of the flag from a draft of the National Seal in 1782 shows the stars in a circle. And the flag in this painting by John Trumbull, depicting Yorktown in 1781, has the stars arranged in a square with a single star in the center. The Mooney flag that I will be recreating has 3 rows of stars, 4 in the top row, 5 in the middle row, and 4 in the bottom row. So let's talk more about this specific flag. In her detailed textile analysis of this flag, Dr. Goody identifies the materials the flag is made of. The red and white stripes, as well as the blue square, called the canton, are made of wool cloth. The white was the natural color of the wool, while the red and blue colors were accomplished with dyes from natural resources. The stars are made of linen. The whole thing is sewn together with linen thread. Now remember, at this time in history, all stages of making fabric was done with human power. Even fabric that was professionally made was done without mechanization. The first water-powered spinning machines were introduced into America in 1790. The first mechanized weaving mill in America did not open until 1814, and the sewing machine was not invented until 1846. The other thing to keep in mind is that synthetic dyes and materials have not yet been invented, so all material was made from natural plant or animal fibers and colored with dyes extracted from plants or animals. Because every process in the making of a flag like this was powered by human work, we are looking at many hands involved in making this one textile. Throughout this video series, I'd like to demonstrate to you as many of these processes as I can. Another thing to note is that it is impossible to tell where the materials for this specific flag were made. A good deal of cloth was imported from Europe at the time, but even if the specific flag was made from European cloth, There were plenty of people in the American colonies and later our new nation involved in all the processes necessary for cloth production and flag construction. So it is these people I will focus on. Okay, so finally, let's get an idea of what I will need to do to construct this flag from scratch. I made this scale model from paper to help you visualize what we're talking about. The flag I'm reproducing is 56 inches long by 28 inches high, with the canton, the blue part, measuring approximately 15 inches high and 22 inches long. And the stripes are between 2.5 to 2 inches high. While there's some variation in the height between the different stripes, for my recreation, I'm going to aim for each stripe being about 2.25 inches high, which means I need to cut them 3 inches high to accommodate the seams. So to help us visualize how much wool fabric I'll need for the canton and the stripes, again, I've used paper models for ease of visualization. Now I have a loom, which is the tool to make cloth, that allows me to make a finished piece of cloth approximately 22 inches wide. So I've marked on my bench here with black tape. Inside that black tape is a scale, 1/5 scale, 22 inches wide. So that is my piece of fabric. And then I've taken every piece that I need for the wool of the flag, and I've laid it out on my model to see what length of fabric I will need. And it turns out I need a little more than 3 yards, so 118 inches, which is almost exactly 3 meters of cloth. A back of the envelope calculation tells me that I need to spin approximately 4,600 yards of worsted singles. And for me, that's probably going to take somewhere around 50 hours of spinning. So in addition to the wool, I will also need 26 linen stars. There are 13 sewn to each side of the blue canton. So these can be cut from a relatively small piece of linen. If you look at the stars here, a piece of linen that was the size of the canton here, 15 by 20, 22, will be plenty to accommodate all the stars that I'm going to need. Now the flag is sewn together with 2-ply linen thread. So every seam on this flag is going to need sewing thread. A rough estimate is that I'm going to need somewhere around 32 yards of linen thread to sew the stripes of the canton together. The stars are a bit harder for me to estimate, so maybe 100 or 200 yards in total. Totally doable. Let us not forget the colors of the flag are red, white, and blue. Synthetic dyes were not invented until 1856, so all the dyes used at the time of our flag's making would have been derived from natural materials. In our case, the blue would have been a dye extracted from the indigo plant, and the red would have been made from the root of the madder plant, or perhaps the powder of a ground-up dried bug called cochineal. I'd like to do experiments with both of these red dyes to see which gets me closer to the red color I want. So that is going to be a lot of work and fun and interesting. So join me in February for my next episode, in which I will share with you the process of preparing and spinning wool to make the wool cloth, and investigating who had a hand in spinning wool in the 18th century America. Thank you for joining me, and see you then.